Philadelphia Eagles advanced through to the divisional round of this year's NFL playoffs in miraculous fashion, but not all of the game was down to luck. In fact, much of it was down to great game planning, some even better execution, and some highlight performances from some very talented young individuals. Now, the Eagles faced the New Orleans Saints this weekend, another offensive juggernaut who by this point, let's be honest, need no introduction. But do the Eagles now have an offense that can go toe-to-toe with a team that not too long ago hung 48 points in them in a humiliating win that should have ended their season? My name is Liam Jenkins, and this is an episode of Eagles Film Room showing why the Eagles can go toe-to-toe with the Saints and maybe, just maybe, out-duel Drew Brees. Before we get into today's video though guys, make sure you're slamming that subscribe button if you haven't already. We want to build the most passionate Philly sports community on the internet, and we need you, yes you, to help us do exactly that. So hit the like button if you haven't already, and don't forget you can get daily articles, podcasts and so much more from myself and our team of writers at phillysportsnetwork.com. We're going to start with a cold hard fact, and that was that Doug Peterson was simply the better coach on Sunday for reasons exactly like this one. This was that gorgeous screen to Goedert, which somehow still gets me flustered, and this is why. The Eagles have a bunch of receivers on the left hand side circled in yellow, and the Bears are playing zone defense, which means it's going to be quite difficult to get that play off. On the right, the one man in blue you need to watch for is Roquan Smith. We'll get to that just shortly. The ball is snapped and straight away Foles looks left, and during that pump fake, it's like a wall. It's going to be very minimal gain if that. So instinctively Foles swings the other way, and this is where Roquan Smith comes in. Because he comes down to meet Wendell Smallwood out of the flat, it opens up the middle of the field and Dallas Goedert goes through for a monumental gain. Now, whether this was by design or whether it was just designed to give Foles the optionality, the fact that the Eagles quarterback was able to make this decision so quickly is just astounding, and this is why Foles is so dangerous in this offense. It's that split-second decision making. The throw itself was a little bit scrappy, but if you've just done a 360-degree circle, I'm sure you'd be a little bit giddy as well. But the fact is that the Eagles were able to open up the middle of the field, which was completely covered in zone coverage, by just some very sleek play calling from Doug Peterson. Here's another example, and this one is so subtle. It's a high-low read, and what we're going to see is Danny Trevathan, number 59, sit in the middle of the field. Ertz breaks outside, and as Aguilar comes over the top on that spot route, Trevathan has to pull down. That opens up inside leverage, and it's a bang play. Zach Ertz with a big gain down the middle. Now the next one, adequately named the London Special, funnily enough, is a variation of the Philly Special, and what we see here is Roquan Smith and Adrian Amos, number 38 on the right hand side. They both see this coming a mile away. They want to sniff this one out on this 2-point conversion attempt. Because all of that attention is sealed to the edge, Wendell Smallwood dives up the middle, and although that ball crossed the plane, in reality it was ruled incomplete. But the concept was there, and this is another example of Peterson just using that creativity. This quick sprint out look, that crucial 4th and goal touchdown to Golden Tate, which we see here from Nick Foles. Does it look familiar to any of you? Well, if it doesn't, it may do now, because this is a rookie Nick Foles back in 2012 finding Jeremy Maclin with 2 seconds left on the clock to send the Eagles to a victory, breaking a drought of no touchdowns. Essentially what Peterson did was just take ideas that have already worked between himself and Matt Nagy. This was a perfect example. The Bears ran this inverted wishbone last week, and that linebacker number 59 who goes out to meet Alshon Jeffrey, he's meant to be monitoring the curl and the flat. He does the wrong one, he falls for the motion by the running back, and that opens up a big window for Alshon Jeffrey. All Nick Foles has to do is monitor the defender that is keeping an eye. Number 59, now you'll see him, Danny Trevathan, that's meant to be monitoring if it's a curl or a flat, or if there's anyone coming out in the backfield. And when you've got a split backfield, that's even harder to do. Trevathan is going to keep his eyes pinned on what that running back is doing. He ignores Alshon Jeffrey, who by that point is completely clear, and that is a huge gain for the Eagles receiver. Now this route here is essentially going to be a corner post by Goedert, who fakes going vertically, then throws his body weight back inside to score a touchdown. This has worked numerous times for the Eagles, including against the Bears last year against that very defender Adrian Amos, number 38 again. We're going to talk a lot about him in today's episode, who aligns up with Dallas Goedert. Goedert throws him off with that play strength, and away he goes. A red zone touchdown is one thing, but his blocking was something else, which, as we all know, was actually labelled a weakness coming out of college. The Eagles are in a nub tight end look here, which means there are no receivers beyond them as you're going from right to left. And what we're going to see is Dallas Goedert not only push his way out of a double team, but look at how he sustains that block and opens up a wide hole for Wendell Smallwood. That is such a strong effort. And if that wasn't enough, just take a look at this one. Who's he going up against? It's Khalil Mack. The run may not go very far, but Khalil Mack kind of does. Goedert picks him up and just pushes him all the way back to the 30-yard line. The ball is completely on the other side of the field. That's remarkable play by Dallas Goedert. We see it again here. He lines up with him on several different occasions. Look at what he can do on this play. Gets a little bit of help from Lane Johnson, but then throws him across the pile in his absolute war of brutality. And I wish I could focus a whole video on the war these two had, because it was just outrageous. And Dallas Goedert again sustaining that block against Mack, who's doing all he can to get through. It just wasn't going to happen. But that still wasn't my favourite Dallas Goedert moment from that game. In fact, it was this one, and you won't even notice it at first glance. But this was a huge throw from Nick Foles. The misdirect from Golden Tate just opens up the middle of the field just a little. Nick Foles throws an absolute floater down the sideline to Alshon Jeffrey. But I want you to watch the blocking in this scenario. It was a really quick throw from Nick Foles, but watch Dallas Goedert here and his ability to read and pick up Danny Trevathan. He misses him on the wrong angle, comes back the other way, and just as Foles is releasing the ball, gets him out of harm's way, protects the quarterback, the ball comes down, a huge completion. Talking about protecting the QB, the Bears had just one sack all game on 41 dropbacks in the wildcard round. That is staggering. And the offensive line silenced Khalil Mack as they did with JJ Watt and Aaron Donald, three names who tallied 49 sacks in total this season, none of them against the Eagles. Now, as we can see, a lot of that can be from blocking, but the other aspect is that Foles is getting the ball out so damn quick. In fact, on an average of 2.22 seconds, Foles has got the ball out of his hands. That is the fastest time in the NFL. And this was a great example of that. You've got great blocking up front, you've got two tight end sets which are working wonders, and you've got a quarterback that is so quick to make these reads that it neutralizes the blitz. It doesn't matter who you bring if the ball is gone by the time you arrive. The Eagles faced that same problem earlier this year. And even if you look at this play where the Eagles are trying to flood the right hand side of the field, Foles just doesn't even hesitate. He knows where the ball's going and he just gives the defense no chance whatsoever to make a play. In fact, 70.4% of dropbacks were absolutely clean for Nick Foles since his return. That's the 7th highest in the NFL. The man has been an absolute machine in terms of bang-bang plays, and it shows. Here we're going to see a levels concept, or a fork, or however you want to refer to it, but Nick Foles is going to make a fantastic read during the game-winning drive. He fakes a handoff, and he's ideally looking for a receiver at this point who's got some separation. Now, you've got one man going vertically, you've got a couple of guys cutting inward, and a check down with Golden Tate. He had the receiver streaking over the middle. He instead went for Alshon Jeffrey. Why? If you slow this play down, just have a look at where Nick Foles' eyes are going. He's staring at Alshon Jeffrey, knowing that Danny Trevathan is dropping back, trying to cut out the middle of the field. It's a win-win situation for the Eagles, and the touch that Foles has on the deep ball may just be one of the prettiest in the NFL. But I did just want to take a closer look at this. So what we see here is Alshon Jeffrey open his hand up with his palm facing down. Now, from what I've been told by a couple of people, depending on what offense you're in, this can mean either you're going to be open or you're going to be closed. To me, that says Jeffrey isn't going to be open, and when you see this press coverage, I would say that's a good shout. So that could be Jeffrey signaling to his quarterback, he's not going to be open, look elsewhere. Foles then resets. He examines what the defense are going to give him and he tailors accordingly. He goes straight to the left-hand side of the field where Aguilar's open one-on-one, and that is just a great throw. Look at it again. Jeffrey goes past him. You clock the eye contact very, very briefly for just a second. And then you see Roquan Smith, number 58. Is he coming down on a blitz? The answer is yes. He sees that and he can't throw to the middle to Ertz, who was more open because of that traffic. He turns straight away and targets Nelson Aguilar for a big-time completion. But if you want to talk big completions, you don't get more clutch than this. It's a cover two. You've got two safeties coming over the top trying to triangulate in on Golden Tate, and somehow Nick Foles makes that throw. There's nothing you can say to analyse this to say whether it was good or bad, other than that is the ballsiest throw you can make as a quarterback, to go in between three players, find your man. Tate comes up clutching that big moment to haul it in. That is just ridiculous. Now on this play here, the Eagles are going to run 2 comebacks down the seam. You've got to check down over the middle, and you've got to go route down the outside with Alshon Jeffrey. And what Golden Tate does here is just absolutely remarkable. So he's on the outside, and he just sells that vertical so well. The cornerback turns around, starts looking for the ball, and Tate knows it's going to be a comeback, just switches up so quickly. He's so fluid in his movement, and if you look back inside the pocket, this is what I mean. It's a complete picture right now. Nick Foles is comfortable, throws up, leads his receiver back down the field, and it's just a gorgeous throw from Nick Foles. Now the Eagles may not have been able to run as much as they'd like against the Bears, but what they did do is use their running backs to really open up the rest of the field. Take this play for example. Darren Sproles, number 43 inside the pocket. He draws the linebacker out, so Danny Trevathan has to respect the flat. By doing that, just like the play earlier, over the top goes Alshon Jeffrey. Big time play. Now what about this? This was an early screen in the game. It really gave the Eagles some momentum on that first drive, but just look at how it pans out, because no one's really expecting this straight away. All the defenders are kind of scrambling around trying to work out what's going on, and it's Wendell Small that's off to the races down the sideline. Some great hustle from Roquan Smith. But if we look at it again from this pocket view, or the one at Soldier Field, which is actually half decent, if we pause it here, the Bears have got that strong side all suited up. You've almost got a 7-man front to a run to the right, and instead Nick Foles screens the other way. Kelsey makes a massive block, just throws down Danny Trevathan. And what about Darren Sproles? At the age he is, I don't know how many running backs in the NFL can get this skinny and fit through a hole this small. It's absolutely mad. The Eagles pull a trap play, Sayamalo makes his block, and it opens just the tiniest window for Sproles between Johnson and Jason Kelsey. He gets through, no question. But overall, these Eagles were just a better coached team. It doesn't matter how you look at it, who had the better personnel or the most star power or offense this, defense that. The Eagles were just the better team. And when you look at a play like this was that crucial goal line drive at the end of the game when the Eagles ran it on 1st and 2nd down, and the entire world pretty much freaked out. And the reason for it was that they wanted to drain Chicago of timeouts. They knew they had a 4-down scenario, and was there really any doubt that Nick Foles could get that ball in on 4th down? This team believes in themselves again, and the Saints were playing a team that were giving up. I remember that first interception that Carson Wentz threw in that game against the Saints. It was like he flipped the bird, hoisted it up and hoped for the best, and after that they were waving the white flag and fighting a losing battle. Doug Peterson has strengthened this team. The offense has rediscovered its identity, and the defense is firing on all cylinders. Let me know what you think of this video, guys. Do you think the Eagles can beat the Saints this Sunday? If you do, hit subscribe, leave a like, and let me know down below. From myself, Liam Jenkins, you can follow me on Twitter at LiamJenkins21. I'll see you next time for another episode of Eagles Film Room.